Hey friends, welcome back. Michael Butler here. I'm so excited about our next guest. Cora Darrah wrote a book because her family member was going through dementia. Her father-in-law. Cora, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Michael.
Now, where are you located? Tell us where you're at, and we want to get right into the book here, but kind of give us the backstory of where you're located.
Well, I'm from Durham, North Carolina, so I lived here all my life and met a man about 36 years ago, fell in love, and have done family with him ever since. And with that comes father-in-law, and who we love very much. His name is Joe, and that's who this book is written about.
I love the subtitle because it says how one family created a final home for a father with dementia, love, honor, and dignity. That just, I mean, that touches me. I'm a father, you're a grandparent, I'm a grandparent. How many people have Alzheimer's and dementia?
Well, currently about 5.4 million people have Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's growing because people are getting older. And it seems like if you're older than 85, then you have a strong chance of having Alzheimer's or dementia.
Your book is coming out this Tuesday. We're so excited. You're actually launching the book because you said, you know what, I want to get it out to as many people as I can globally, and you're making the ebook available for 99 cents so people in Australia, Europe, all over North America can get the book. What is the book about, and who's it going to help the most?
Well, it's about our journey with my family and my father-in-law, Joe. And about a year and a half ago, we realized that Joe had dementia as well as lung cancer, but it was the dementia that really concerned us. He was doing some things that were pretty dangerous. He was driving and getting lost, as well as he had a gun, and he had it in his home, and he was forgetting a lot of times who was in the home. So those kinds of things really frightened us, and it came to our attention that we needed to do something radical.
And what did you do?
Well, first of all, we spent a lot of time with him. He was living by himself, and he had lived by himself for about 8 years, and he was very independent and did not want to give up his independence. And so we ended up spending a lot of time with him, taking him to different doctor's appointments. And the more time we spent with him, the more we realized that we had a problem on our hands. So that was when we intervened, and we ended up having him placed in an assisted living community, which is kind of funny. I just got off the telephone with my sister-in-law, who had just been spending some time with him, and he even said it was the best place he could ever live.
You know, that's got to make you feel good, right? I mean, wow. Wow.
It does, because it was hard, and because he didn't want to leave his home and he didn't want to give up his independence. It was very difficult getting him to realize that he needed to make a change in his home environment and be helped.
Now, I know you said you've learned a lot in this process of caring for Joe and finding a home for him. What are some of the things you've learned in the process? What are some of the things you and your husband have learned since you've written the book that you want to share with other families?
Well, we've learned a lot about dementia, and I've also done a lot of research on caregivers, people who are taking care of loved ones that have dementia and Alzheimer's. And, you know, it seems like there's kind of two big categories. There are caregivers that have their loved ones living in their home with them, and it's a 24/7 type of situation. And my heart truly goes out to these people, because they basically have given up their lives to take care of their loved ones. And Alzheimer's is difficult. These individuals that have Alzheimer's, their behavior is inconsistent. They can be very moody. They can be very demanding, and they forget so quickly everything that you tell them. So it can be a very difficult task to have a loved one living in the home. But then there are also individuals like my family who have loved ones that we have placed in assisted living communities. And this can be difficult too, because we're not sure exactly how they're doing and what kind of care they're receiving, and making sure that their needs are taken care of.
You mentioned how many people had Alzheimer's and dementia. Is there things people can do that are our age to prevent it, or is it not preventable?
Well, I just recently went to my physician and we had a conversation about this because as I've been researching Alzheimer's, I have found that in my own family that I have two aunts that have Alzheimer's, I had a grandmother who had Alzheimer's, and so I am personally very concerned about the fact that there's a good possibility that I could have Alzheimer's. And it seems like that there are more women that have Alzheimer's than there are men. So I was asking her, what can I do? And she was saying the best thing that we can do at our age is to exercise and to take care of our bodies and to eat well.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, and I know you go into some of those tips into your book, and maybe specifically you didn't write this for caregivers, but at the end of the day, many families, like you said, end up becoming caregivers, right?
Yes, and you know, it's not some, you know, one of the things that I wrote in the book is it's something you don't learn. Somebody doesn't teach you this. The families that have individuals that have Alzheimer's, you know, it's not like, oh, let's teach them how to take care of them. It just happens. And we as the caregiver has to learn along the way what we have to do. And, you know, some of the things that we found out that were just very important was like the power of attorney. That was a document that a lot of people don't have, and when an individual has Alzheimer's, a lot of times they refuse to give the family member power of attorney, and it can cause an awful lot of complications. So it's things like those documents that truly saved us at the end of the day.
I know you've done a lot of research. You've had your own experience here, and now you're starting to speak, and you're starting to get the word out, and you're starting to do interviews like this. As a former educator, was anything about being an educator for all those years preparing you for this moment, or does nothing prepare you for a family member with dementia?
Well, I was a special educator, so I worked with students that had autism, intellectual disabilities, Asperger's, and one of the things that I found as I was dealing with Joe was that there were some similar characteristics. When I would work with a child with autism, I would basically write things down. It seemed like that if you wrote it down, it was law. And one of the things that we did with Joe is that when we were getting ready to move him and he was being defiant, well, I wrote down the list of things that were happening, that had happened to him, that he was able to see on paper exactly what it was that he had done and why we were so adamant about having him move. So yes, I do believe that being a special educator helped me an awful lot when dealing with Joe.
Did that help him go from denial to acceptance then by seeing these things you had written down?
It did. It really did. It did in the moment because of, you know, Alzheimer's being something where he remembered for 5 minutes and he was okay with it in 5 minutes, and then, you know, later we had to go back again and we had to reiterate the importance, and we had to show him again through writing it down why it was so important for him to be moved.
At what point would a family, if ever, do an intervention with a family member, and would you ever advise that they do an audio recording of some of the conversations? If so, why or why not?
Oh, I think that's a great idea. I think that having it recorded so that the individual can see it again and understand this is the decision that they had made, because they so easily forget the decisions that they make. And I also think it's very important to allow the individual to have input in the decisions. When we were moving Joe, one of the ways that we were able to do this so smoothly was that we gave him an opportunity to choose where he wanted to go. He loved New Bern, North Carolina. It's near the coast, and because of that, he was more eager to leave and make a home in New Bern.
Well, you got to really feel good about that. Did you and your husband see the movie The Notebook?
Yes. Oh, yes. Saw that, and you know, it brought back a lot of memories. I mean, what we were going through, I felt very similar to what was happening in The Notebook, and
Was that
Also,
just a Hollywood version, or is that actually true to how it is with these kinds of diseases?
oh, I think that it was based a lot on reality.
Okay.
Just being around Joe, as well as going to the assisted living community where he is now, and encountering lots of other individuals that have Alzheimer's and dementia. I see clearly how so many people just are constantly forgetting their loved ones and not even knowing their names,
Mm,
which can be very distressing for the loved one.
mm. Well, you talk a lot about your faith in your book, and to your friends and family, that comes as no surprise. How has your faith helped you navigate these new waters?
Well, there was lots of times during this whole process that we just didn't have any idea how it was going to be resolved. We were very, very concerned about Joe's safety, and we were very concerned about how we were going to financially get through this situation. And really, I truly believe it was our faith. Throughout the book, I kept thinking, oh, this is a God thing. This is a God thing. Whenever things would happen in a way that we just would not understand the reasoning behind it, we just put our faith in God, and it just seemed like it just worked.
Wow, wow, that's awesome. Does Joe know you wrote a book about him? And is he in agreement? Is he okay with
Well,
that?
well, he has seen the copy of the book, but he just doesn't seem to understand. He'll look at the cover, he sees himself, he smiles, gives us a smile, and he seems happy to see that there's a book, but to understand that it's written about him, he doesn't seem to understand that concept.
Tell people how they can get a hold of you. Hold up the book, and we've got a big launch coming up this Tuesday. They can get the ebook for 99 cents. How can people find you?
Okay, if you go to CorahDarrah.com, you'll be able to find information about the book. I'll be sending some stuff out on Facebook and just launching in different social medias. Just please look for it, and I hope you enjoy it and can benefit from it.
Yeah, all your social media is there. You're very active. And what's next for you? I know you've gotten asked to speak and do different interviews and stuff. Are you going to be writing another book or doing some more speaking?
Well, I plan on it. The more that I have kind of gotten into the area of dementia and Alzheimer's and studied it, I've just found like that there's a need, there's a definite need for people to be aware of ways to encounter the issues that come with it. And so I am planning on doing some public speaking, as well as I'm writing more and writing about Joe and trying to hopefully write a sequel.
Well, that sounds exciting. Do you have any final words you want to share with somebody that maybe recently has a family member diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia?
Well, what I would suggest is that you get the resources. There's lots of really good books, this one particularly, but there's also other good books out there that you can find, as well as go to the Alzheimer's Association website. They have some great information about support groups in the area that you live, as well as there's some great support groups on Facebook that I have come across that can also help. And just believe that God is in control, and He's going to take care of everything, and that you will get through this.
Cora, thanks for joining us on the show today. Her book, Here We Go, Joe, How One Family Created a Final Home for a Father with Dementia with Love, Honor, and Dignity. Thanks so much for joining us. Get the book this Tuesday.